So we want to talk about the privacy, or how privacy goes after this, and how privacy is needed, and what is the role of the Ethereum for privacy space. So we have a guest like Vitalik, famous Vitalik, who, of course, he's the founder of Ethereum, and also he invented he co-authored Plasma itself, and also he made a Ziggy rollup. And he's the first person who brought the ZKP to this kind of scaling Ethereum space, not limited to Ethereum, scaling blockchain space. And also David Chaum, he's the inventor of blind signature, and also he made a DigiCash, which is one of the most great pre-Bitcoin period cryptographic cash. So I want to talk about the privacy first today, and before cutting into the kind of financial privacy or crypto type privacy. In privacy in general, in Web 2, Web 3, in the World Wide Web in general, do we have more privacy than before, like 10 years ago, or we lost privacy in comparison with 10 years ago? I want to talk about that. So what do you think of that, Vitalik?
I mean, I think in the physical world, it feels like things are only going in one direction and privacy is going down. On the online world, I think you see signs in both directions, right? There's much more tracking, on the one hand, and much more advanced, like AI tools to track and analyze some of everything. But on the other hand, 15 years ago, HTTPS was not mainstream, and today everything is HTTPS by default. 15 years ago, something like Signal did not exist, and today Signal exists. 15 years ago, privacy preserving internet payments did not really exist, and today we have Zcash, and we have all of the Ethereum-based systems. So I think there are signs of hope, though at the same time, even on the internet, the situation is definitely extremely challenging. I think both just because of all of the forces that are pushing for privacy privacy going down, but also because there's a lot of desire to do things, like verifying that someone is a human and not an AI, for example, and like that. Though there's a lot of these other goals that are they go against privacy if you try to do them naively. Though at the same time, with zero knowledge proofs, there's there's an opportunity to actually not sacrifice privacy while satisfying a lot of those things. So I think there. In the digital world, there is hope, but at the same time, things are definitely not moving fast enough, and I'm very appreciative of anyone who's trying to help.
Okay, cool. So you're talking about the technical stuff about the privacy. We have a kind of legal stuff regarding privacy as well, right? Europe is one of the region taking it seriously somehow, and they're making regulation more strictly than before. And do you think it's kind of legal stuff helping privacy, or kind of making privacy bad, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think there is definitely some laws that make privacy harder, right? And the recent push in the US to add age minimums to half the internet definitely worries me in that regard. But then on the other hand, there are definitely laws to try to increase protect privacy, right? And GDPR is one example, and it's far from perfect, and I think clicking through every time you access a website is dumb, but it's it definitely it does have the upside of creating an environment where storing data by default is the more dangerous thing to do, as opposed to being the safer thing to do just in case you need it. So I think it really depends on on the specific law. I think like it is important to remember, right, that privacy is something that there are many bodies of law that do value, and like both with regard to privacy from corporations and with regard to privacy from governments, right? And like these are like legal rights that are recognized in a lot of different countries. So I think one of the challenges is also kind of this this kind of perceived gap between like privacy, the extent to which it's recognized as an international right, and privacy as we see it in reality.
Oh, so basically it's far from the perfect, but this is something. So David, your kind of biggest privacy contributor is you being privacy contributor for many years, many decades. On the what do you think about the situation of the privacy today, in comparison with 10 years ago, for example?
Well, as I said in my keynote, this is a crucial moment in the history of civilization. It's not business as usual. Make no mistake, AI is coming after us. It's able to sift through unbelievable amounts of data efficiently. We look at the damage that was done to society by Web 2-based social media. It's created a world of acrimony that's spawned a new term, social fragmentation, which the global leaders once identified as the biggest problem in the world. The WEF attendees, it's a huge issue, and privacy technology is at the center of any solution to the $64 trillion question, which is AI going to control the world going forward? Are bad people with access to AI? Or is humanity going to control it? There really is no other option. Once you let someone have a lot of power, they are going to keep trying to get more and more power. And once they can use AI for that purpose, there's no going back. It's irreversible. In the old days, we used to, pick up the stones from the street and throw them and run around and stuff. Forget it. Once we give up on democracy, once human beings stop making the final decisions, it's all over. We have the technology now to do it. I tried to argue in my keynote that there are no barriers anymore. It should be able to prevail, to disrupt major areas of communication, payments, and identity. These are, significant breakthroughs. So I think we're at a critical juncture here. Either people recognize this and we move forward in this way, or the world's not going to be, the way I think most of us would like it to be going forward. Vitalik mentioned ZK snarks in his keynote, and again here, and most people don't realize I had an awful lot to do with that. The basic model that's based on is something that I presented back in the 80s. I got the best paper in theoretical computer science in the last 30 years award. Look on my website. The first time they gave it by the editors of the Fox conference that, introduced multi-party computation. And this is an extraordinarily powerful mechanism that leaves, all this other stuff kind of in the dust and is now becoming practical. And Vitalik, often mentions it and thinks about it. Well, I invented it, and we were able to prove some very important structural things about what's possible with information technology. So, let me just say, I can say this, by the way, and also XX Network, which I founded, is doing some great things for privacy for Ethereum. You can, it's bridged now. You can you can use the dApps that are built on the XX Network to conduct payments and send messages around them. You know, basically, we're hoping that social media will start routing some of its messages through XX Network and provide some real privacy there. And, you know, there was a lot of concern also about CBDC and the lack of privacy in it. And so I did a project with the Central Bank of Switzerland and the Bank for International Settlement, eCash 2.0. We proved that you can have CBDC with really good privacy. So that's, you know, a big deal. It's like quantum resistant CBDC. So basically the argument, the technical arguments against privacy are falling away, but the social reason to really embrace these technologies is, you know, it's the elephant in the middle of the room.
Oh, cool. So, yeah, basically, if I could summarize that, you know, basically, either AI is the biggest difference from the 10 years ago. And you know, 10 years ago, nobody kind of care about, let's say, didn't worry about our AI so much. Of course, and none of people are talking about that. Kind of threatening the world, and kind of this kind of stuff is quite new or biggest topic right now.
Well,
right
basically, here. While we weren't looking, primitive AI sucked all the intelligence, all the juice, all the mojo out of humanity. And made us fight with each other to make it very easy to manipulate civilization. This happened over a series of years in secret. Those people who did that, those companies gained a lot of money, a tremendous amount of money. And what are they doing now with that money? They're investing it in AI, and AI at a scale where, no one can really compete with that. Mm-hmm. So basically, and then they're going to use all the data they stole from us to, for that AI. So really, it's a series of, it's a quite an egregious situation if you look at it from that perspective. If you look at it from the perspective of entrepreneurship and our chance to, as a community, do something about it, it's a tremendous opportunity.
Yeah. So it's no doubt that the cryptography is the best way to compete with AI, and controlling AI or protecting ourselves from AI threats. And the cryptography is quite important part on the. We have you guys, 3 people, all of you guys have a invention, cryptographic invention. I know that Vitalik also can post a lot of kind of cryptographic papers on their academic side. And also he's let me introduce him. He's a Solar, and he's a co-founder of Email, and he's one of the person who can create cryptography in Japan as well. So what do you think about this problem? Do you think the entire privacy has decreased or increased comparing with 10 years ago?
So I think the actual privacy in real world has been decreasing for these 10 years, but the maximum privacy that we can achieve using a recent applied cryptography has been increasing. So for example, if you use zero-knowledge proofs, you can prove the partial information about your identity without revealing all of them. Or you can store encrypted data instead of raw data into the external servers. But you can still allow these servers to search encrypted data using searchable encryption, or even compute them using FHE. So if such upright cryptography become more practical in terms of efficiency, and this technology are adapted, so if we can redesign the current digital infrastructure using such cryptography, I think the actual privacy in real world will increase in the future.
Thanks for the take. So yeah, I think that we can heat up for entire this session. So yeah, we will move to the next session as well. Just a moment. So it was about half years ago. You said privacy is normal when you deposit hard money into a railgun. And so the second question is that privacy is something like financial privacy is something like a cypherpunk, or it's kind of normal stuff, or all people should use, or kind of daily life, or something like that.
I can speak real quick. I'll try to be brief. Just related to what I said earlier, this giant theft of data about people included financial transactions and so on, and we were naive. We didn't realize that this was all happening and that everything we were saying online was being recorded, analyzed, and used to steer all these, feeds and so forth. So it's, it's not. I think the reality is simply that, especially in a high-trust society like Japan, but even in the U.S., which is not really a high-trust society, people just, they're just humans. They just expect that since they can't see anyone watching them and writing everything down and so on, that what they're doing is private and of no real interest to anyone, and no one would really take the time to. But that wasn't true. People with a lot of computers and a lot of money that were, offering things for free, that you could use, were like extracting the value from civilization and creating acrimony. And this is, that was phase one, and now phase two, they are building, plan to spend hundreds of billions of dollars on AI. So on frontier models, this is some pretty serious stuff. Sorry.
Yeah, I think, privacy is, normal in the sense that this is something that we've had for thousands of years, right? Like the ability to just pay someone with cash and for that to just be something between you and the person you're paying has been a feature of human civilization that we've taken for granted pretty much ever since we started having any kind of exchange, right? The ability to privately have conversations is something that's been part of the bedrock of society pretty much ever since, even before we started exchanging things, right? We've been talking for hundreds of thousands of years. And yet, at the same time now, there's all of these, pushes toward cashless society and move things to being, purely digital. And then with conversations, more of them are moving digital. And then for the ones that are staying physical, there's all of these crazy things you can do where you can just have a camera pointed in the wrong direction 100 meters away, and with acoustic reflections you could figure everything out with 87.4% accuracy, and
Internet of Things.
Know everything, right?
Yeah, and so it's like if you're just sitting in some room and having a Zoom call. It's like, is the bigger problem the Zoom, or is the bigger problem where the actual physical sound is going? But so I think wanting to preserve these things that have been a major part of how the world has worked, how the world has always worked. Is, I think, a completely normal thing. But, at the same time, it's the fact that this requires action, and the fact that this is something that's really worth taking some concerted action around is something that at least right now is non-consensus enough that we need to create an ideology, and we need to have a word in the ideal for the ideology. But hopefully that can change, right? like 15 years ago, HTTPS was, the cypherpunk thing, and it was encrypted messaging, and now those are just part of the world. So I think there is definitely a blueprint for these things actually continuing to be part of the normal world and function that way.
In that sense, cypherpunk itself can be a normal stuff.
People's the problem is that privacy is normal in that it's an expectation that people have. They don't expect that they're being spied on in all kinds of contexts, but it's also, I think, normal in a different sense, which is it's almost a human right. We think it's a human right. So when it is the way the world should work if people were in control and people were tricked into thinking it was the way that world worked and power was taken from them during that period. And now people have awakened to this idea, but they forget quickly and they don't necessarily see how they can really move things in the right direction. But if you were to really ask people seriously, one-on-one, do they care about this stuff? I think there would be a resounding yes now, whereas, 30 years ago, not so much. People have seen the damage that's been done, and they are aware of it, just that they don't have actionable opportunities to really protect themselves. And can I just say one more thing, and that is privacy is a difficult problem. You cannot really meaningfully solve it by just addressing one application area, let's say payments, which we talk a lot about. Of course, we want privacy in payments, and I think, both Vitalik and I have been working on that, and this is very important. But if you don't have privacy in messaging or privacy related to this identity and symbol attacks and so on, it can undo the privacy that you do obtain. So, that's the thing. When you're trying to piece things together, if you're like an AI, you take clues from wherever. Location, messaging, payments. Sure. So we need a comprehensive solution, and that's kind of what I was trying to say in my keynote, but I guess I didn't make the point that clearly. We have to address privacy in all the main areas in order to really achieve meaningful results.
Yeah, privacy doesn't have a unit, right? No, we have like a unit. We have a 1,000 privacy or 10,000 privacy. We don't have a unit to measure privacy. That it makes also the things kind of makes this problem a bit more difficult. And I want to ask more things about privacy.
Technically speaking, metrics have been proposed over the years. We have the anonymity sets, and of course you can use information theory, and there's a number of things. But it's I think Vitalik's point is more important, that there isn't a lot of generally accepted terminology that memes are in public discourse related to this, and so the issue is not really easily addressed by the media, by the public.
Okay. Yeah. So I really want to know about the unit for privacy. So I want to ask that later. So next question is there. Vitalik and Amin Soleimani. There are some guys from Chainalysis. You guys made a privacy pool protocol paper, which is kind of regulation compatible. Let's say it's like a non-North Korean hacker, no friendly privacy or something like that, right? The question is that do we need a further cryptography to make it more complex or way to make a privacy, or just kind of encrypting privacy is fine? Encrypting transaction is fine.
I think, I mean, in terms of like the basic technology, I feel like for payments were like in terms like the real building blocks, right? Like I mean, like ZK things. I feel like for payments we're basically there. I feel like the challenge, like the bigger challenge, especially if we're talking about like the I mean, like the non-North Korea friendly privacy direction, is. Like it's not exact like with the like technical building blocks, but it's in like how you use them. It's sort of like how specifically you craft what kinds of statements each person is proving about themselves and about their coins, right? Because like especially once you start transitioning from the like privacy as an exception, like you have privacy protocols that you deposit into and then withdraw from. And as you start transitioning into privacy being the norm, so when the average transaction becomes private to private, there's like a lot of these extra challenges in like what information do you actually pass along to someone that you're giving money to, what information about yourself are you revealing. If you don't reveal any information, then they don't have a way to prove that they're not North Korea. And so there's like these you know, like challenging architectural discussions. I think if we're talking about moving beyond the financial side and we're talking about more you know, like tricky and complicated applications, which I mean, one of the, it could mean, I mean, it could give two examples that are kind of different. I mean, so one is voting, right? So in voting, we need, you know, ideally this higher form of privacy called coercion resistance, where you can't prove how you voted even if you want to. And, you know, like there's been, I mean, like decades of academic literature and designing protocols that do sort of the best that you can in that regard. And, you know, like we have Macy in Ethereum that has similar properties. And then you can, if you add FHE on top, then you can relax one of the trust assumptions and make it like very close to minimal. Like basically you have M of N just for the collusion resistance piece, and it's unconditional for anything else. So like that's one place where you have like more challenging building blocks. And then another one is like privacy in financial market applications. This is something that Ethereum people are starting to care about more. And in that case, like a lot of the time what they care about is just protecting themselves from front running, right? And just like actually getting a fair price when they make a bid. And there's like this complicated rabbit hole, and there's people exploring MPCs, exploring FHE, exploring TEs, exploring Synarchs, and you know, keep creating some combination of all four. Like I think when the set of things that you want to do becomes more complex, then you start losing, like you start moving away from this world where you're just talking about like pieces of information that only belong to one person, and you start needing to do this kind of collaborative computation between different groups of people with different private information, and that's when some of these other primitives also start to come in. But I definitely think that you know, like none of these are done. Like I think these are only you know, it's like what's like you know, like a happy Pandora's box. It's like, you know, a Pandora's box where instead of demons it has you know, like candy. Okay, not candy. Let's like say it's like healthy candy inside. And you know, you've like we've only started looking at a few of the possibilities. I think it'll take some time to properly analyze the space more.
Well, I have a somewhat of a different view, but I you know, I respect what Vitalik's analysis. However, like in my keynote, I mentioned the use of privacy of AI to help people administer their own privacy. So what all the different, sorry you missed it, I know you couldn't be here, so scheduling, but the, yeah, so that's, you know, I could tell a funny story. Phil Zimmerman, the inventor of Pretty Good Privacy, once told me he didn't want to use PGP when he emailed with me because it was too complicated to use. So, okay, that's kind of ironic, but you know, generally, when you can make these uses of information technology just as easy with the absolute best privacy as without any privacy, that's when you have half a hope of getting people to switch. And then when people use AI to find what the best thing to use is, then they'll use that. So I think it's you know, I'm reminded also of Arrow's theorem, He got a Nobel Prize for this in the 50s. And it turns out that with sample voting and the kind of thing I was talking about, to try to actually let ordinary people make all the main decisions and not leave anything significant to AI, that overcomes that theorem. But that theorem has been used for decades to sort of, cast democracy in a bad light. Because, well, theoretically, it wasn't really possible. I also think that if you look at, I'm sorry, with all due respect, financial markets today, the way they are constructed is essentially impossible to make fair and secure. And some people are making a lot of money off that, believe me. But there are other ways to do markets that don't have those issues. So in Better Than Money, we avoid a lot of this stuff. And so I think that if your goal, to summarize, is privacy and you're willing to re-architect things, which you really have to do, then you can solve it very effectively. But I do agree that with the kind of architectures that we have today, it kind of looks hopeless, but that's part of the problem. You don't want it to look hopeless. You want it to look like we can do this, and to do it, you sometimes have to re-architect your systems a bit.
Okay. Yeah, it's quite interesting that we're kind of going this direction of discussion of the market privacy relationship. Since I remember that MEV front running it stems from the lack of privacy. Basically, this comes from the fact that we cannot encrypt our transaction right now. And also, as Vitalik mentioned in a second point, the privacy, it's not just a human right, and it can kind of change the market game on the rule of the games. For example, auction. If auction has privacy or not, it makes a huge difference. Okay, so actually it's reaching out the end of this session. So I want to ask, another thing to Sola. So do you expect 20 years later, do you expect that Ethereum makes a good impact on privacy?
Yes, I think Ethereum will be one of the important building block of the MPC, not only for crypto applications, but also for general privacy preserving applications. So especially if we want to build some kind of stateful MPC or handling some stateful computations, I think parties in the MPC need to agree on their next input to the MPC for each evaluation. So it means these parties require some kind of consensus algorithms. And instead of building a new network for that, we can simply use Ethereum to agree on which input will be used for next evaluation. And this will this might improve the security of the MPC, because it can reduce some kind of attack vectors by publishing the two conflicting inputs, and even the honest parties go to the different inputs due to some network errors. And I also think even after we get the practical indistinguishability obfuscation, which completely hides the program without changing the functionality of some program, such obfuscation is still stateless computation. But if we have a blockchain, we can use the finalized Ethereum block as a proof of some state commitment, objective proof of the state commitment, and inside the program of the obfuscation, we can verify that this input is committed as this time epoch input for this private computation. So I think Ethereum will be an important building block for the MPC computations, which requires state consistency.
you foresee many things are for next 10, 20 years, and it's quite amazing. I didn't expect that so much stuff are regarding the technology stuff. So yeah, it's quite amazing her answer. So Vitalik, what do you think about this? In 20 years, Ethereum, whether or not Ethereum impacts in privacy space in a good way or bad way?
I mean, I'm definitely hopeful that it's going to be in a good way. Though I think I would emphasize that most of the work to make that happen is still ahead of us. We still have a chain where most transactions are happening completely in the clear, and everyone can observe it. And then even most of the communication in the crypto ecosystem is happening on Telegram, which is like not even end-to-end encrypted. So I think a lot of steps that we need to take to improve, and like we actually need to make it a priority for the community. But like, at the same time, I think you need to remember that like we basically are the main people working on this at the moment, right? Like zero knowledge proofs basically I think like exist in this form where you can put entire complicated computer programs inside of them, because the last 15 years of the crypto space has just like focused so much effort into like really optimizing the scalability side of them, right? And I think that's like basically anything like any existing so if you're in like centralized finance or any kind of centralized solution then like it's generally not in your interest to work on this stuff. But I think in our case it is, right? And I think this is something that like we really needs to continue building on, and like we have a responsibility to step up and lead here.
Thank you so much. So yeah, it's great to have that your opinions today on the for me it was mind blowing, and so many kind of expectation about the privacy I could have in Ethereum space. So thank you for your time, you guys. And we need to go and move to the next session. And yeah, so thanks Vitalik, David, and Sola. Nice meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Pleasure.
Thank you everyone for your amazing session about privacy. Thank you. Now let's give a huge round of applause to our expert again. Thank you. Now we're gonna